Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community and neighborhoods. And now from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning. Welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Dorothy, after last week's show, and after a couple of the shows we've had in the last month or so, I continue to marvel at how different businesses and different organizations have pivoted and accommodated in COVID, in the pandemic. And we live in a tale of many different types of industries and jobs, and some are doing well and some are struggling, and I'm talking about the retailers.
It's the era of creativity.
Arts. Yeah. So, but I get to sit here and I get to witness how people kind of meander through all the curveballs that they're thrown. And today, the curveball's on me today, and you'll find out why in a minute. But we had the opportunity to speak with the Director of Education from the Encore Center, Jacob Toth, along with Greta Zandstrom a couple of times on some of the shows that they've done in downtown Southern Pines. The Encore Center is finding a way to meander through all the pitfalls. They have classes, they have productions, they appeal to people of all ages. And remember all the shows we've done with students in Moore County and the arts. And a lot of these kids are sidelined today.
Yes, they are.
But the Encore Center keeps coming up with event after event. Although, Jacob, you are limited by the audience.
Absolutely.
But you are staying as vibrant as you can possibly stay.
We're trying. You know, as an arts organization, you really have to think outside of the box. And so we've been doing things like outdoor performances.
Right.
That's how we started it in the fall, which was wonderful.
Right.
Now that it's colder, we obviously had to move inside. And with that, we've really taken precaution as to how many people are there, social distancing. We are currently in the middle of one of our student camps, as you talked about just a second ago.
Right.
And we've limited that to only 23 kids in the cast. They all have masks on. We've split it up so only 10 kids are on stage at a time, and luckily that's how the show works out. And then as far as the audience is concerned, our theater normally sits 160 people, but we're only having 45 tickets sold. So we've added some extra performances. You know, the kids have to do 3 shows in one day on the weekend, but that way everyone can come and see it, and we do it for 45 people, and it's great.
It keeps the kids enrolled.
Absolutely.
Keeps them active. How many parents do you know who have bought their kids trampolines in the last year just so they could go outside and exercise?
Absolutely.
And get out of themselves.
Yeah. And so many of these schools around, not just here in Moore County, but everywhere, they're not doing shows. They're not doing proms. They're not doing so many things that the kids are missing out on. So.
Well, what are you doing in February? What do you have coming
up?
We
have a wonderful little show coming up. It's A.R. Gurney's Love Letters.
Right.
It's a story of a man and a woman over 50 years from 1930 to 1980. And they become pen pals when they're in elementary school. And they just write back and forth. And it takes them through love, through divorce, through, different problems that they have. And they never actually marry. They don't become a couple, but they stay friends through that 50 years. And so it's just 2 actors on stage reading letters back and forth.
Well, there is one bona fide actress or actor on stage or at this table, and her name is Laura Morgan. And Laura is a Pinehurst resident, and she's going to be playing the role of the love interest or the female letter writer. But Laura, you moved here in 2012, but you've had a lot of experience with musical theater.
Right.
You grew up in South America?
Grew up in Argentina, in Buenos Aires.
And how long were you there?
I went to Costa Rica when I was 2 because my parents had to go to language school, and then Argentina when I was 3, and I left when I was 14.
Yeah.
So, of course, speak Spanish and love the area. I've been back a couple of times since.
And you're also currently the Miss North Carolina Senior Miss America.
I am.
For 2020.
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Hopefully Miss Senior America. We'll see later on this year. Yes, for North Carolina.
So you have a pageant to attend you're competing against all the other states?
Right. Whatever states are going to participate will be I don't know. We haven't set a date yet because they'll have to pick a venue.
Right.
It'll probably be in Atlantic City.
Right.
Sometime later in the fall.
Right.
So yeah.
I can see why. I mean, you're stunning.
Well, thank you.
Very regal. So Pinehurst is home, and you're an empty nester by your own admission.
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
How did you and Jacob hook up?
Well, Jeff also, we found out we on a blind date. We've been married 13 years and found out on a blind date 14 years ago that he and I attended the same American private school in Buenos Aires at the same time. I was 7th grade and he was 2nd grade.
Is that right?
Yeah.
She's actually talking about her husband right
Oh, I
now.
thought you said how did Jeff and I hook up. I'm so
Yes.
Okay.
We are together
that's
now,
how you
but
and
no
your
one
husband.
knows.
I'm so sorry.
We're going to find
this
out about
cold has got in my-
we're going
I
to
think
find
this
out about
cold has got
Jacob
in my
too.
ears here.
Jeff, don't listen to
Jacob
this
and I- okay,
program.
that's a different
So you
story.
were
I
high
am
s- you were-
so sorry.
You were elementary.
loving
No, I want to stay with your husband for a
Oh,
minute.
okay.
So you were elementary school sweethearts?
Yes. No. We didn't know each other. He wants to say all the 7th graders had hots for him. He was 2nd grader, but so anyway, but of course years and years later, his best friend from med school introduced us on a blind date, and
Is that right?
Jeff was moving to Germany to be stationed there, so I went from Lumberton, where I was living there as a single parent, and after divorce, and moved to Germany. Heidelberg, Germany. We lived there for 3 years before moving back and getting stationed at Fort Bragg. So, yeah.
All right. Now I want to get to this guy at the
Okay.
table, Jacob. Toth.
Jacob. Okay.
How did you all hook up? Because you've worked with Michael Peasy here on some
I have.
productions.
I have. One of the judges for the pageant, Mimi Carter, is that correct? Actually, Facebook messaged me and said, "Do your queenly duties right now."
We
allow
basically
time?"
stalked Laura, is what she's trying to say.
Exactly.
Mimi Carter is, she does a lot of, she sits on our board as well as does a lot of props for us. She's a performer. She's an amazing woman. And so she knew of Laura and kind of, like I said, told me about her. And then we both Facebook stalked her until she would come and audition for us.
I said, sure. I mean, right now there's nothing much going on, because of COVID and the pandemic. So I thought, of course. I mean, I have not done just a straight play in forever.
Are you restless?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But this is going to be so much fun. I'm really looking forward to it. So I met Jacob, behind mask. I
Absolutely.
see this handsome face over here, but and so. Yeah, like I said, yeah.
So the challenge of love letters is a lot different, I'm guessing, than a normal acting situation. Can you lay it out why that is? and
Well,
what
one of the reasons is the show is set up, pardon me, that there is no interaction between the two actors.
Right.
They're literally in their own little world reading the letter from the opposite person. So if it's done right, the two of you do not look at one another. You don't really have that connection that you do in life when you're talking to someone. You're just sitting there reading the letter to the audience and letting the audience decide what the feelings are between the two of you.
And I've seen a couple of YouTube
Of course.
revisions of the play with a lot of very well-known actor and actresses who have done it. Are they supposed to physically be together, or is it just that they're in two different worlds, but they're on the stage together?
That's exactly right. They're in two completely different worlds because
So they're not together.
no, they never really meet up. They're both from the same part of the world, up in the Northeast.
Right.
But they never really meet in person. It's all through letters and working through addiction, working through, things that happen to them. And so it's just back and forth, back and forth.
When I looked at it on YouTube, and you can just type in A.R. Gurney, Love Letters, I remembered the movie from 1979,
Of course.
same time next year, with Alan Alda and Ellen Burstyn. Do you remember that?
Yep, I do.
They had a relationship. I guess they were both married to other people, but they would meet once a year at the same cabin or whatever. I think at the time it came out, I think it was a little risque because they were encouraging adultery.
Right.
But these were two people that seemed to love each other, and they shared, and maybe more than they did with their spouses. And that was the movie where the hit saw the Academy Award nominated song. Same. The Last Time I Felt Like This, Johnny
exactly.
Mathis.
That's right.
Do you remember?
I do.
And you know who sang with him? The duet?
That I don't.
I happen to.
Oh, tell us.
Jane Oliver.
Oh, okay.
Are you familiar with her?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we had her down here back in 2001 after 9/11, and she came and
wow.
did a concert at the Robert E. Lee Auditorium.
Okay.
And they performed on national TV. And she was one of Johnny's girls for one of the many duets that he did.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, the funny thing about this story is that so many famous couples have done this show, and I don't know why, but it's one of those shows, the most recent being Sally Field and John Cranston did it.
Yeah.
Some other notable ones are Rita and Tom Hanks did it together.
Oh, wow.
You had Elizabeth Taylor and James Earl Jones do it together.
Ally McGraw and
Ally McGraw and Ryan O'Neal.
from
They met after
Love Story.
45 years
Love
to get
Story.
to do it and do this and took it on tour. So
Yeah.
you've got some big shoes to fill.
Who's the guy from Cocoon?
Brian Dennehy.
Brian Dennehy.
Great actor.
And Mia Farrow?
Mia Farrow.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're right.
God, I remember when Love Story came out, I was
Absolutely.
in high school, and we had to all, go. If we had a
Dating
girlfriend, we
ourselves.
had
Of
to
course.
date.
Of
Yeah,
course.
I am. I stopped pretending many years ago. And I sat there, and I was like, ugh. And my date was like, oh, she had tears, and I'm like, oh. The differences were clear even at that age.
Right.
But there they were, 45 years later doing it.
And they took it on tour, and that tour sold out almost every performance.
Is that right?
Yep.
Now, was this actually on Broadway or was this an off?
This did go on Broadway.
Did go on Broadway.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, because you have kind of collaborated with Ashton's. You're trying to create an event,
That's exactly right.
which I love.
Yep. So our mission up at the Encore Theater is enriching lives through the performing arts. We're looking for ways to bring the community together, and in this time, we're partnering with Ashton's, and we're also looking for more local businesses to partner with and support each other for future endeavors. But Ashton's and us got together, and we are going to do kind of a dinner theater feel. We're taking out some of the seating in our theater, and we're putting up cafe tables because this is Valentine's Day weekend. And so we're doing a beautiful dinner. Ashton's is putting it all on real china and silver and linen.
Oh, is that
and
right?
you can come and eat and see a show. We're going to have little desserts during the intermission part of the show. And so it's really a beautiful date night for Valentine's weekend. So we have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We have the evening performances at 6:30 with dinner. And then the afternoons, we have both Saturday and Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. And for that, they're going to be doing a charcuterie platter, so also food, but not the dinner part of it.
So the matinee, I guess, the afternoon shows would be $30 per person.
That's exactly right.
And the dinner would be $50 per person.
Which for having a dinner at Ashton's and a show is
yeah.
a steal.
Yeah,
Especially with us.
with you.
Oh, we haven't even talked about that other actor. It seems to be avoiding that.
So, I mean, this is one-stop shopping, essentially. And how many people this year are going to really say, oh, hey, it's Valentine's Day. Let's go out in the town.
Exactly.
Not
Not
happening.
many.
Not happening. Not in 2021, at least not yet. And we don't know. The jury's still out what the balance of the year is going to look like.
Absolutely.
But how do you get people enrolled to get together and gather and to put productions on? Because you have other events planned after Valentine's Day. You're
Absolutely.
not
We do-
stopping.
No, we don't stop. So obviously, we follow all the guidelines. We're disinfecting all the time. We have a one-way travel through our space. You come in the front door. Everyone goes out the back door, so we're not cross-contaminating. With this in particular, because we're only doing 25 tickets per show, we're able to socially distance all those small cafe tables and have everyone at least 6 feet, if not more, apart. There's only 2 actors on stage, so we're really following all those guidelines. And, everyone does have to wear masks to come into the theater, but once we sit down and are serving dinner, you can take off masks and things like that. So.
Okay. So I grew up writing letters. I grew up.
It's a lost art.
We didn't.
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
It's a lost art.
It really is.
It is.
And we didn't have word processors. we had to write our grandparents' letters, thank you letters.
Right.
We had to write letters to our girlfriends when we went away and we split up. And we had to make sure that we expressed ourselves in such a way, we put our heart into what we wrote. Today, we have a generation of emailers and word processing people. It's just texting.
Spell checking. We didn't have that either.
How does the lost art of writing, how is that going to translate, and what kind of demographic are you trying to appeal to?
I think this story is just about love more than anything, which appeals to anyone. The fact that it's writing letters, I think, brings a nostalgia to an older generation.
Yeah.
But I think it also exposes a younger generation to what has been and what can be again. Because, like you said, in this time of COVID, people are trying to come up with different things to do and DIY projects and trampolines outside. And just to have kids sit down and give them a piece of paper and pen and make them write, I think is something that is universal and something that could help, because there's so many things, my nieces and nephews aren't even learning how cursive writing in school anymore.
That's right.
Which breaks my heart.
So, Laura, with your experience, have you ever done anything like this before? Because this is a completely different orientation, isn't it?
Right. I mean, it's like we were talking earlier, the only plays were actually just my youth group at church.
Right.
I mean, because other than that, I've done musical theater. But even just in the plays, there was still memorization. With this, there is none. You're just literally reading. And I mean, when I first auditioned and I was reading off the script, and, Jacob was very complimentary. He said, okay, but now there's going to be some emotion in it because you are reading love letters, but it's not like if you were on stage with that person and talking to that person. So kind of almost like you're reading a telegraph. Just very, you know what I'm saying? With a little emotion here or there, but it's just straight reading. And so that's going to be different because I'm I talk with my hands.
Right.
And I'm just very, just
demonstrative
animated.
that way.
Exactly.
So A.R. Gurney was on one of the YouTube videos, and the question was he was interviewed with Brian Dennehy, and the question was asked, do you require the actors to memorize the lines? He said, absolutely not. And then I thought, phew, that's a relief. but then his reasoning, can you talk about why they want them to read the letters?
They do.
Why?
Well, they want it to be like you're opening a letter yourself and reading it for the first time. They also want, again, the audience to be able to react to that, because some audience members may cry at something you read, some may laugh at something, some may not feel any emotion. So he really wants the audience to get into this and the audience to feel that feeling again of physically opening a letter and reading it and what that emotes in them.
Okay, so this is True Confessions. Laura, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you save things over the years?
Oh, I do. I have every card my husband wrote me from when we were dating, because he was in Germany and I'm in North Carolina. Oh, yeah, I keep everything.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I have high school love letters, college love letters. I hide them in boxes. They just keep going with me.
Right.
What am I going to do with them? But there was a memory associated with it and an emotion and a time, a special time. No one writes anymore.
No.
So, okay, we're going to come back. We're going to talk about more about love letters. We're going to talk about the event that's going to happen on February 12th to 14th. This is a little bit different because it's going to be tied into a dinner or, I guess, an afternoon lighter fare. $30 for the two matinees, which are on the 13th and 14th at 2 o'clock. And then there are 3 evening shows at 6:30.
That's correct.
The 12th, 13th, and 14th.
Unfortunately, the 12th is already sold out, but we still have the 13th and 14th. There are some tickets available for those.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's real good. And Ashton's is going to be partnering with the Encore Center, which I think is great in these times. Teamwork is very important. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to All Things Moore County. We're talking about Love Letters, which is the production being put on by the Encore Center in downtown Southern Pines, 160 East New Hampshire, February 12th to the 14th. It's a play by A.R. Gurney. It's a revisit to the past, where word processors didn't exist, email didn't exist, and it pulls heartstrings. There are going to be 3 evening performances, the 12th, 13th, and 14th at 6:30, and they're partnering with Ashten's. So it's a package deal. It's dinner and a show, or it's going to be a lighter fare along with a matinee. And Jacob, it seems like you're pulling it off in a time when who does anything in February these days, especially
Exactly.
post Super Bowl. But you're making it happen.
We are. It was kind of the perfect marriage of a lot of things. It was
Right.
Valentine's Day, which, again, during this time, we want people to get out and have a chance to fall in love again and have something to do. So we talked to Ashton's, who is kind of right next door to us, and they obviously, as a local business, are suffering a little bit as well. So
Sure.
this helps them. It helps us. It gets people in the door, gets people outside. I think right now people are craving the arts, a way to escape, a way to
Yeah.
be entertained, a way to laugh and cry,
What do you think about the demographic of the audience?
I would love to say that I'm going to pull in a bunch of 20-somethings, and it's not to say that they won't come, but I do think that this show in particular speaks to an older generation.
Right.
A generation that knew what it was to write letters to one another.
Right. Sometimes I'll mention that movie Same Time Next Year to people.
Absolutely.
And
No
they
idea.
They look at me and they go, huh? Who?
Exactly.
Who's Ellen Burstyn? Who's Alan Alda? Right? I mean, same thing with musicians. You realize there's a generational gap. But I applaud you guys, and kudos to Ashton's, too, because they are forced to think outside the box.
Absolutely.
And they have to create something from nothing. We started at the beginning of the show, and we talked about some of the businesses that are having a harder time navigating than others.
Absolutely.
And on this show, we get people from all different lanes. And so my heart goes out to them, but I applaud people who are courageous and who get outside their comfort level, which leads us to
someone else that's going to be in our show, our second actor that will be on stage
Yeah.
with Ms. Laura.
talking about getting outside their comfort level. That would be me, I guess.
That is exactly right.
I've never done any acting. I've never done anything on stage, but I have had the ability or the opportunity to speak to all these courageous students in Moore County. When I was in high school, I was a jock. I played basketball. I played, golf, and it was easy. I never respected or understood the courage that it took for a student to be involved in the dramatic arts. But I have, in 12 years of this show, I have found a new respect. And these kids, they have to have more courage than some of these athletes because they're just out there. And I'm amazed. And so we've tried to give these kids a forum.
Absolutely.
And I always preach to people to get outside your comfort zone. So I have to follow my own advice, right?
Exactly. It was many things came together for me on this one, I have to say.
Yeah, I'd love to hear the process.
When you pick a show,
Right.
you really have to think about, all right, if I had to cast this of people I know,
Right.
can I do this?
Right.
And are they here that I could get them to come here or be here or whatever? So when we talked about doing love letters, believe it or not,
Right.
the first male voice that came to my mind was you.
That's crazy.
And I know that's what you said to me over the phone.
Crazy.
Because with this show, you have to have 2 actors that are of a certain age, because again, the show takes place from 1930 to 1980, so they have to be a little bit older.
Right.
They have to be contemporary of one another.
Right.
What's great about this show is neither of those actors, as we've talked about, have to really memorize the script. They will have the script on stage with them.
Right.
So I knew because you had not done something like this, you wouldn't be freaked out about that because you read all the time. So when I called you,
Right.
I think you were a little shocked.
Right.
But was so encouraged when you said, you know what, I tell people to step out of their box all the time,
do.
I'm going to do it.
I do, and I have to practice what I preach. And every time I've done that in my life, I've always been glad.
Right.
And there's never been a situation where I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I did that."
Right.
It's just layers of experience.
Yeah. And as you know, I didn't call you and just offer you the role. I made you audition. You had to video your audition because you couldn't come to the audition that day that we had it.
Right.
We ended up having about 12, 14 people audition for this show. And there's only 2 roles to be cast. So you did pretty well,
But
sir.
you know what? People have to also understand the high cost of a production. And if you had to bring traveling actors or actresses in, it costs a lot of money.
Absolutely.
And you're not in this right now. This is not to increase your profit margin. This is to keep the Encore Center viable.
Absolutely.
And to help fund the other programs that you do. It's not just the productions.
That's exactly right.
And I'd love you to talk about some of those because you guys have a pretty strong
yes.
menu going.
Absolutely. The Encore is both our theater as well as our studio. Our studio offers anything you would want to do from age 3, 4 up to as old as you can be. But we have dancing, we have singing, we have acting, we have musical theater classes. We have a whole homeschool thing that we do with, getting the arts into their education. We have kinder music for babies. We have private lessons on any instrument that you can imagine. So we are going nonstop. Sarah and Brandon Langford is who started this. They actually started the Carolina Performing Arts Center, which is
Right.
over in Cameron.
Right.
And then they opened the Encore Theater, and so we're sisters with them. And between those 2 organizations, we see over 900 kids coming through the door every year. And we're
That's
growing,
crazy.
so we love that.
That's
I didn't realize all that. It's amazing.
and they have an opportunity to be put in front of mentors, role models,
Absolutely.
other than mom and dad, and to get out of the house, which is really hard these days.
And because all of us are, transplants here,
Yep.
I'm from Ohio originally. I lived in New York City for 20 years. We bring in people that they get to meet from Broadway, from California, from other areas that are in the arts and see what they can maybe become one day.
Did you move down here about a year ago?
I actually moved down here in 2018.
2018.
I started at the Temple Theater with Peggy Taphorn.
That's right.
And I was there for about a year and a half.
That's right.
And then COVID happened. So I left for a little while and then met Sarah and Brandon. And they came down to do a workshop, believe it or not, at the Encore Center for some of the kids, teaching them about auditioning and what to do to audition. And then they asked me if I wanted to stay and do a job. So
Do you think, big picture, looking down the road, one of the positive effects of the pandemic is that it's going to revitalize local theater?
absolutely. Absolutely. I think we're at a time now where people need the arts.
Yeah.
And in so many aspects, singing, dancing, music, acting, I think people are just missing that. And anything live and being among other people and sharing an experience
Right.
is what they're craving right now.
Yeah. Laura, you have a resume, a very impressive resume, but it's been a while since you've performed. Are you rusty?
Well,
Are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. I think the last time as far as like doing a play or musical, probably Carousel in Concert, and that was maybe 2 years ago.
That's right.
And it was a different kind of thing because you had the orchestra, everything on stage with you, and as actors, you just got up and did your part and sat down. But yeah, I'm ready to get out there and do something. I've missed it. I've missed being on stage. That's just me.
But you can also draw upon your own personal life and your experience. If
Right.
you are going to be throwing yourself into reading these letters, you have things that you can put in place
Right.
that get you
And
there.
there's so much of this character that I can, divorce and stuff because I too have been through a divorce. So there's so much in this character that I can kind of relate to. And
Yeah.
and again, like all of us here, I mean, I was such a big letter writer, and my mother was that way.
Yeah.
And I cherish those things. And
Yeah.
so I'm looking forward to this. Looking forward to working with you.
Oh, I'm going to be your caddy. That's what I told Jacob. I'm going to get you water, make sure you're feeling good. We're going to come back in the third set. We're talking about the production of Love Letters by the Encore Center, which will be happening February 12th to the 14th. It'll be dinner and a show, or a light fare and a matinee. This is All Things Moore County. Welcome back to our final set of All Things Moore County. February 12th to the 14th is going to be the production of Love Letters. It's the A.R. Gurney Pulitzer Prize winning.
Pulitzer Prize nominated.
Play. And the span of the show, actually, it's a 40 or 50 year
50
period.
years. 1930 to 1980.
Wow. Okay. That's about 8-10 years before word processors came into into being. This is, they call it a comedy, although to me it seems, I don't know, more of a drama. Did you get that same feeling, Laura?
I did. I mean, when I first read the script,
Yeah.
of course, it's starting when they're young and writing. There was several little funny things in it, and I was laughing through it. But then towards the end, it gets darker. It gets, like you said, to me, it was more of a drama. I didn't see it as labeling it as a comedy, except for the very beginning.
But there must be a universality to this play because it sort of captures a human condition.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely.
And if something has such a broad appeal, everybody can, at some point in their lives, they might be able to identify with your character or the male character and look back on their lives. Because, when you get to a point where you get to our position, you get a perspective on life. And when you have a perspective, that means your vision, your eyesight might not be as good as it was 20 years ago, but your vision is a lot better. And you get to see the whole playing field. And there's a freedom in that. But this is the first type of a play that you're going to be in where you weren't singing or acting. You've been in Peter Pan, Sound of Music, Evita. This is not like that.
No, this is...
How are you approaching it?
This is totally different. I mean, in all those other musicals I did, I mean, you're memorizing so much, and you're memorizing choreography, you're memorizing, which I will say right out, I dance. I mean, I don't dance. I'm not a dancer. So choreograph is I'm so glad about that. But so the whole thing about not having to memorize is really great. But I think I don't think it's really going to be stepping out of my comfort zone. The only thing is I get very animated. I get very, so I need to kind of tone that down a little bit. That's just me. And I've got to truly look at this. I'm reading letters. I'm not speaking to you. I'm just reading a letter.
Right.
So it has to be.
One of the cool things about a production like this is it's organic. It's a limited audience. The Encore Center is going to help to embolden this very strong sense of community that we have in Moore County.
Absolutely.
Because if you're going to look in the audience and you see 25 or 30 people are going to know each other. It's also a networking opportunity, and that's one of the coolest things about living in a small town. You were raised in Buenos Aires? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is like Norman Rockwell compared to that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's very folksy and it's very intimate,
Right.
and Ashton just happens to be next door, and you've just happened to befriend each other, and what you're doing is trying to roll out something that caters to the community.
Absolutely. We're only an organization that's a year and a half old.
Yeah.
So we're trying to become part of the community and bring community members together. We would love to partner with other people in town. And again, like you said, think outside the box and figure out something we can do for all of us to bring people downtown, to bring money into this area, anything we can do to help one another out.
In the 12 years I've been doing the show, some of the most enjoyable shows have been with like the Gary Taylor dance students.
Of course.
The Pinehurst Theater Company. When the students get together and they form a camaraderie and they come out and they talk, it builds their confidence up. And I think about all the kids that you have in your classes. When you put a microphone in front of a child, that child's self-esteem is like right through the roof.
Absolutely.
And it's reinforcing what it is they're learning. And it's, as opposed to the 60s or 70s when I was in school, if you weren't in sports, it was a different world.
Yes.
Today, the arts and sports, to me, they're equal. I mean, they're just programs where kids can develop. So maybe you might want to somehow, I guess what I'm saying is for 2021, we'd love to get kids in here who are not afraid to speak, and they can't nod at the microphone. They have to speak.
Exactly, which is why we love that we have our studio side of this, because just to get kids into a room to have to speak in front of one another, let's face it, 95% of kids that are in our organization are not going to Broadway to be Broadway stars.
Right.
But to be able to public speak, they can take that anywhere with them, whether they're in a boardroom or in front of family members or out in the community speaking. This arts organization will build their confidence and get them to look someone in the eye, because even today, kids sometimes don't look you in the eye, and just to be able to give them that confidence to carry themselves a little taller and present themselves, it's a great feeling.
Every teacher, every mentor that has come on the show who has either a dance organization or a drama organization, they've all said the same thing. What you said, the kids don't go to Broadway, but what they get in their formative years that they take with them is an appreciation for the arts.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, the most important takeaway. So you've been here 2 years. You are outside of New York now. In this time, you're getting some momentum with the Encore Center. You going to stay?
I'm going to stay. I love this place.
No more New
Southern
York.
Pines in particular is such a wonderful town.
Right.
To have a downtown like we do, to have a train that stops here and takes you to other places is amazing. And our organization in particular is so supportive and so wonderful with one another. We lift each other up. We're there for each other.
Yeah.
And it's just a wonderful place to be.
Yeah. Again, we're going to go through this one more time, right? February 12th to the 14th.
Exactly.
You want to run through you do a much better job of it than I do.
So February 12th at 6:30 p.m., we will have our dinner for $50 per person. Saturday, we have 2 shows. It's an afternoon matinee at 2 p.m. for $30, which has a lighter fare. And the 6 o'clock show? 6:30? What did I say?
6:30.
6:30 show on Saturday night, the 13th, for $50. Then Sunday, we're also doing 2 shows. Again, the 2 o'clock matinee, which is the lighter fare, and it's Valentine's Day. Gentlemen, a wonderful idea for a date night for you and the missus. Or we just opened our Sunday night performance, which is going to be the best because it's Valentine's evening, and where else can you go on Valentine's evening? But come see us at 6:30 p.m., a dinner with Ashten's catering it. It's going to be wonderful.
And that was kind of last decision, I'm sorry, to open up on Sunday nights because
it just happened.
Friday's
because
already
our
sold
tickets
out,
are
which is
selling
great.
well.
Yeah. Laura, this is the first time you've performed with the Encore Center?
It is. And hopefully not the last.
I'm sure.
We'll see.
I'm sure it won't be. That might not be said about the other person at the table, but that's okay because I'm just right. And again, Ashton's is become a valued partner with you with this event.
Absolutely.
And a lot of what you're doing represents what a lot of people are trying to do. They're putting their arms around each other and they're saying, let's make something happen. And
we
it's
can get through this
than
together.
What we ever experienced before. But that's what makes this area such a cool place to live. And it's been an interesting year and a half.
Yes.
But I applaud you. Laura, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Nice
look
to meet
forward
you.
to seeing you, and I will just take notes and listen to everything you say. February the 12th to the 14th, Love Letters. And people can go on and get a little preview on YouTube as to what it is with some of the actors that you mentioned.
If you Google A.R. Gurney and the word Love Letters, so many things will come up. But you can also find out more about us at EncoreCenter.net. So don't be afraid to check us out and see how to get involved with us and come see our show and buy tickets right there online.
We hope to see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks for coming in. Laura, it was a pleasure.
Thank you. It's
so
great
much.
being with you.
Thank you.
Always good to see you.
We will see you next week. Thank you.